Being a new grad nurse practitioner is probably the best feeling in the world. You probably just recently graduated, you passed boards, and now you have so many different opportunities in front of you. You are going to be a provider. But in reality, being a new grad nurse practitioner sucks. And in this video, I'm going to be going over 5 things that no one tells you about when you are a new grad nurse practitioner. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new to this channel, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Darty. I'm a board certified psychiatric nurse practitioner, and in this channel I go over several different subjects to educate the public about mental health, ways to improve your lifestyle, topics related to nursing, nurse practitioners, and specifically psychiatric nurse practitioners like myself. So if you are interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, because it helps so much with all the likes that I get, and it helps keep me motivated to wanting to make more content for you guys. And if you haven't followed me already, follow me on Instagram at LifeofaPsychNP. So, you probably clicked this video because you're interested in finding out what the downfalls are of being a new grad nurse practitioner. You're kind of sold this dream of so many different things happening, so many different opportunities occurring, and don't get me wrong, it is an exciting time, especially being a new grad nurse practitioner, because you get to transition from the nursing role to a provider role. You have so many different opportunities, whether it's a new job, maybe increase in pay, or maybe increased knowledge of your knowledge base. But at the same time, there's certain things that I wish they would have told us that no one actually knows about being a new grad nurse practitioner, and sometimes it's pretty inevitable. Yes, there are certain instances where you might not necessarily experience this, but for the most part, a lot of these new grads experience this, and it's something you have to be aware of, especially if you want to become a nurse practitioner. So without further ado, I'm going to be going over 5 things that no one tells you about when you are a new grad nurse practitioner. So let's go. So the very first thing that no one tells you about being a new grad nurse practitioner is it can take months to even years for you to land your first nurse practitioner job. And let's face it, the amount of nurse practitioner jobs compared to nursing jobs is far lower. And it's something that you have to always consider. Imagine how hard it was as a new grad nurse to land your first job. Now think about how much harder it is for you to land your first job as a new grad nurse practitioner. And it's definitely one of those things that you have to factor in so many different things. You have to factor in oversaturation. You have to factor in the amount of time it takes for the board to even process your license, the amount of time it takes for the board to even process the other licenses that you need, maybe even studying for boards, and maybe even studying for board certification and getting that. You have to factor in so many different things, and unfortunately no one tells you exactly how long it takes to land your first job. All you're told about is, oh, you're going to be in a new role, you're going to gain more knowledge, you're going to be working in this specialty, you're going to learn all of these great things, but they don't necessarily even tell you that this can take a long time. So you want to make sure that you're financially and mentally prepared to understand that this can be a long time, this can be a process, and you have to understand that as a new grad, expect the unexpected, and you may have to just wait it out. So definitely understand that. So the second thing that no one tells you about when being a new grad nurse practitioner is the fact that you are gonna most likely hate your first job. And I know it's kind of negative, but at the same time, not everyone necessarily experiences this, but for the most part, you're more than likely not going to like your first job because either 1, you're rushing to getting your new job, or 2, you feel like you're not necessarily prepared and the environment around you isn't as good as you'd expect. But like I said, this doesn't necessarily happen to everyone, but for the most part, there's so many different factors that go into getting a job. And let's face it, if you have a job, very good, and just stay there at least a year so you can gain the knowledge, experience in order for you to expand on getting another job. Because not a lot of people like people that are constantly moving from job to job to job. and they lack the fact that at least you have a year of experience. So when finding the next job, it's going to be a lot easier compared to when you were a new grad. So that's definitely something you have to think about. And unfortunately, it's a whole different ballgame, especially for your first job. You don't know what to expect, and the employer doesn't necessarily know what to expect of you. So there's so many different factors that going into being a new grad, such as time management, such as what skills or knowledge do you even have? How do they work? And how do other employees work? Maybe if you're so used to being a nurse and not necessarily managing other people, that may be a difference too. So there's so many different things, and you may end up hating your job. And from all the people that I've talked to that had a first job as a new grad, more than likely let's just face it, a lot of them hated their first job. And that's something you have to always consider, especially when getting your job. But like I said, any experience is better than no experience. So I'd rather just take a job that I may potentially not like and then move on, instead of just waiting around for that perfect job to pop up and maybe it'll never come because you don't have experience. So definitely think about that. So the third thing that no one tells you about being a new grad nurse practitioner is you're gonna spend a lot of money up front. So you have to think about all of the costs. You have to think about the cost of your license. You have to think about the cost of maybe even your furnishing license. In California, we have a furnishing license in order for us to prescribe medications. You have to think about the DEA. You have to think about insurance, malpractice, because it's definitely gonna go up. I think I was paying like $100 a year as an RN, and now I'm paying like $1,400. So something abnormally crazy, and you have to think about that, paying that up front. Yes, there's certain jobs that will pay for it, but for the most part, if you want to kind of have the complete package that opens you up for all the jobs, you're more than likely going to have to pay for all of these things too. You have to pay for your board certification. You have to pay for, there's so many different costs that you have to pay for, and it's going to quickly add up. So you have to consider that you're going to be shelling out a lot of money in the very beginning, because you have to get all of these things in line in order for you just to even practice. So definitely think about that. So the fourth thing that no one tells you about being a new grad nurse practitioner is the fact that you're going to be stressed out for the whole entire year. And let's face it, like being a nurse, it's extremely stressful in the very beginning because there's so many different new things and so many different things that you don't even know about. But now imagine that as a nurse practitioner in the world of practicing medicine, so to speak. And there's so many different things that you don't get taught in school that you have to learn, or you're continuing to learn while being a new grad nurse practitioner. And as a new grad nurse practitioner, the stress levels are at an all-time high because you have to know so many different things, and you have to be treating so many different things because not every single patient is going to be the same from what you learned in school. Everyone has little differences within their personality, within their medical care, their mental health care, and you have to factor that in when it comes to providing them care. And sometimes you're going to come across something that you don't even know what it is, and you have to try to figure it out. And this happens pretty often, and the stress levels are going to rise and rise and rise, and you're going to be stressed out beyond belief. And then it's going to start to get a little bit better towards the second year, third year, and you're going to be able to practice pretty well. But for the most part, expect your levels of stress to be at an all-time high, especially as a new grad. And that's something that no one ever tells you about. So the fifth and final thing that no one tells you about being a new grad nurse practitioner is you're going to be a boss. And not the type of boss that you think, like, yes, boss, but more of a boss. So you're going to end up having to manage someone at certain points in your career. And when you look at the hierarchy, we're pretty high up there as nurse practitioners. And if you're a nurse practitioner within a clinic, more than likely you're going to have to manage the MAs. You're going to have to manage the front office staff. You have to manage maybe LVNs, maybe RNs. So you have to be able to understand that you're going to end up managing people and you're going to be a boss. And it's something that not a lot of people are experiencing, especially for the people that become nurse practitioners straight out of nursing school. So they become a nurse and then they go straight to nurse practitioner school and don't necessarily get the experience. And now they have to figure out how to manage and tell other people about what they do. So you have to think about this can be stressful within itself also. Not only are you dealing with the stress levels of taking care of patients, but you're also dealing with the stress levels of being able to be a boss and managing other employees. And it's definitely not tough, especially if you don't have any management experience. You're gonna have to be managing people, and that's something they never ever told us about, because you think you're just gonna be working in a practice, that there's other managers that are going to be managing these employees, but depending on the size of the clinic or the size of the practice or the size of the establishment, you're going to end up having to manage someone in some shape or form. So you always have to think about that. And sometimes it's stressful. Maybe that's the stressful part of your job as opposed to taking care of patients. Maybe you're just amazing at taking care of patients, but managing other employees is something you struggle at. So it's definitely something you have to learn and expect, especially when you are a new grad nurse practitioner. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed this video, and this video isn't to discourage you. And honestly, it's one of those things where in any new job or in any new career point or any new position, you're going to end up having some times that are extremely stressful, sometimes that you're not necessarily used to, and things that you have to kind of just learn on the fly. And sometimes you have to understand this is what it's expected. And as a new grad nurse practitioner, there's so many different things that we're going to learn, and it is exciting times. I absolutely love being a nurse practitioner, but at the same time, that first year was relatively rough with all the things that I had to adjust to. And I wish I would have known certain things because I would have kind of prepared myself, but at the same time, there's really no one out there that's actually providing any information, and I figured might as well just try to provide you with this information so you can prepare, especially for the people that are wanting to become nurse practitioners or in nurse practitioner school or about to graduate. Then it's something that you can expect, especially when you get your new job and you know how to prepare sooner. Maybe getting your finances in place because you know you're going to be out of a job. Maybe not quitting your job right away because it may take a while for you to find your first job. Maybe studying up a little bit more on managerial techniques or education about where your certain specialty. There's always some way to prepare for that, and that's the reason why I wanted to provide this video, because I want you guys to be extremely prepared when you get into your new role as a nurse practitioner and maybe not make the same mistakes that I did, especially when it comes to being a new grad nurse practitioner. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed it. I wish that I can be there for you guys and meet some of you guys, especially when it comes to these different conferences, but unfortunately we're kind of all virtual. But if you guys have any questions, concerns, feel free to leave down a comment down below, DM me on Instagram, or email me at lifeofaPsychNP@gmail.com. But yeah, as always, have a wonderful day. Until next time, bye!